Everybody, welcome to our Chapter 8 talk. I am Farmer Kiki. Top of the day to you. This is Justice, Farmer Justice. Justice. All right, so we're sitting around making some s'mores by the fire for a lot of reasons, and we'll talk about it in a second here as we go through Chapter 8, which is well written, man. This chapter is the way it starts and the way it ends. It's almost like a book all by itself, and we'll talk about that as well. To begin, I want to talk about this illusion, a literary term for you, illusion, which is the Rosetta Stone. It's referred to twice in the beginning here, and the first time it's referred to, they talk about how it's written in the Rosetta Stone that if children disobey their parents, you hear that, Justice? If they smoke cigarettes or if they wage war against each other, they will change the seasons. Well, that's opening up to what is going to happen next, because, you know, what has happened next is we get the first snowfall in 50 years in Macomb. And the kids have never seen snowfall, so they're looking out the window seeing this happen. And when they go out to start playing in the snow, one of their neighbors, Mr. Avery, who's kind of a portly fella. In fact, they describe him as a guy who, you know, a lot of guys who are overweight, they have their belt line and their belly kind of hangs over their belts or above it. Or his body is that he has, oh, that fire is strong. He has a belly below his belt line. So it's very obvious when you see him and you don't see his face of who he is in the community, and this will take effect a little bit later. So the kids are outside and they're playing the snow, and Mr. Avery comes by and he basically says, "You're the worst kids ever," and he points out again that it's bad kids like you that make the seasons change. So the kids are like, "What?" And as they go, the kids decide to do what any kids would do, which is either one, make a snow angel, which they don't do, or number two, Justice, what are they going to make? Snowman. What'd you say? Snowman. He's a quiet fella. So Jem comes up with this big idea that he's going to go over to Miss Maudie's house and borrow her peach basket, and she lets him because he's going to come up with this little formula. Because there's not enough snow on the ground, as I said, but he's going to do 5 baskets of earth to 2 baskets of snow, and in the process, him and Scout are going to make a little snowman. Oh, hold on a second. I got to turn that around. Hope it doesn't fall.
Turn it upside down.
Anywhoots. So the kids gather everything together, and like kids do, they make themselves a snowman, but this snowman doesn't look like normal snowman because it's made of mostly earth, the snow kind of compacting, moistening, and holding it together. In fact, Scout makes a comment and uses the N-word, which she doesn't use that very often in the book, not referring to an individual, but the snowman. And because the snowman it looks like a black snowman because it's mostly of earth, and that's in a sense why she says that. But Jem makes a comment that it's not going to be that way for long, so he starts getting all this snow together, and he starts packing it on. In fact, he starts making the snowman look like Mr. Avery. He starts to pack down below the belt line. He starts to make a belly below the line, starts packing snow on it, around it. They grab some branches from the trees, and they finally get it all done. And after that, Atticus comes out and he starts admiring their handiwork, and he stands with his arms folded and says, "Jim, I don't know which one you're going to be, son. I don't know if you're going to be an engineer, a lawyer, a portrait painter." Of course he's saying all that because he's looking at the snowman, and the snowman he can tell that obviously is looking like somebody in the neighborhood. Justice, who does it look like? Mr. Avery, okay? And he doesn't think that's too nice, so he kind of lets the kids know that, come on, knock it off. Then about this time, they all decide it's time to go to bed.
Marshmallow.
It's fine. It's fine.
Falls off.
So they all go to bed that night, tucked in, and Scout, she seems like she just went to sleep. I don't know if you ever felt this way and you wake up. It seems like you just fell asleep. In reality, you've been asleep for a while. But just after 1 a.m., Atticus comes in, wakes up Scout, and tells her to get her bathrobe on. And because there's a problem, they all go outside and they notice that sweet little Miss Maudie, her house is on fire. And all the fire truck, the town gets launched. Everybody comes out of their homes. He tells Scout and Jem, he says, I want you two to sit over there. Jem, I'm going to put you in charge. I don't want you two to move. You hear me? Do not move. Because they're worried about the fire. What would happen to the fire, Justice?
Spread to the houses.
Thank you, Justice. It was spread to the other houses. So he's worried, wants to keep track of where his kids are. So the fire truck breaks down because it's not used to how cold it is. So the men actually have to push, I can't breathe, push the fire truck. And when they hook up the fire hose, it ruptures. I mean, everything goes wrong. In fact, they end up launching 3 fire trucks on this fire, and it's all for none.
From 6 miles away.
From 60 miles away.
That.
And all the men decide to go in and start pulling stuff out, like Atticus gets a old rocking chair. Mr. Avery, who in the beginning of the book seems like a mean old ornery guy they make him out to be, he goes upstairs and he starts to get things out the window. In fact, he gets to a point where the neighbors yell, they're like, hey, get out of there, the staircase is gonna go. Mr. Avery, come on. And they
Flip it.
no, that's good, man. Look at that, that's perfect. Still going. He starts to come out the window and he gets stuck in the window. As I said, he's a portly fella. He gets stuck in the window, and Scout, she like covers. She's I can't watch. And pretty soon Jem's like, it's okay, Scout. He got through the window. It's all right. And he gets out. Everything's all right. Oh. Ah, son of a cowboy.
Saw it coming.
Son of a cat. That's hot. I'm going to have to start over.
It's still boiling. Still spreading. Dude.
It's
blow it out.
fine. It's fine.
Still on fire.
So they're all huddling around after this thing kind of goes down, and they're talking, and then all of a sudden Atticus realizes that Scout has a blanket around her shoulders, and he gets kind of upset with her because he's like, Scout, I told you two to stay right here. And she's like, well, Dad, we did. He's like, no, you didn't. You have a blanket around your shoulders. And she looks down and she's like, I have no idea. I think what happened, I don't know about you, Justice, do you ever just stare at fires?
Nope. It burns my eyes.
Just me, I stare at fires. And I think they were just watching the fire burn, all the commotion, that they didn't realize what had happened. And it wasn't till a little bit that the adults, they figure it out. And they realized that Boo Radley had to have come out and put the blanket around her shoulders. And I think he was watching them, not really worried about the fire, but he was so worried about those 2 kids that he was just watching to make sure that they were going to be safe. And he noticed that she was cold. Maybe she was shivering because it was late. It was cold out, the snow. And he snuck over and laid a blanket around her shoulders and snuck off, and they didn't even know it happened. And this is an important part about the character of Boo Radley, because they realize that he's not the man that they saw him in the first couple chapters, really. That he is a kind man. And Jem, he gets it figured out before Scout, because he realizes that, you know, he's the one putting all the gifts in the tree hole. He's the one hemmed his pants. He's the one that brings out the blanket to cover up. So he realizes that, you know, this Boo Radley guy really cares about them. So this is a real character turn piece for the kids with Boo Radley as well. You also see a character twist and turn with Mr. Avery from the beginning to the end of the story, because he starts out kind of mean, talking about, you know, the weather. In fact, the kids wonder, you know, like I said, where you got the weather report from, and it was the old Rosetta Stone we talked about, and he was blaming the weather change on the kids. But at the end, they see him being a kind man, you know, risking his life in a sense for Miss Maudie's cherished items in her home. So that was really cool as well. Another piece you see with kind of a bookends, like I said, this is kind of a chapter by itself, or a book by itself, is, you know, it starts off with It starts off with, with the snowman. It ends with the snowman at the end of the chapter. You have Miss Maudie's hat in the beginning. She's yelling at him about taking it. And then, later on, the fire is all pretty much burnt out. It's kind of, they see the hat laying on the pile of rubbish. Mr. Avery, again, mean, kind at the end. And then Boo Radley in his shift as well. So there's a whole bunch of great pieces that come from chapter 8. So do me a favor, though. I'm going to tell you what. I was reading this chapter last night, and I just can't believe how good this is, how great of a writer Harper Lee is. Don't get caught, because I've been through all of them and looked at them as well, all these little YouTube videos that talk about summarizing chapter 8, because it just ruins the entire thing. Because I watched one of those summarized chapter 8s, then I read the chapter, and it's just blown away how good the chapter is. So take time and spend time with this piece as you go. So Justice and I are going to finish here roasting some marshmallows. Justice, you want to say anything?
Eat marshmallows and keep working.
All right, eat marshmallows and don't burn them and keep working. So I miss you guys. I hope all is well. And hey, man, we got our 15 seconds of fame, huh? And what we're doing here with the videos and what we're doing to keep learning in this time. So enjoy your 15 seconds of fame with Justice and I as well. So just an honor to be able to do this with you guys and have some fun. Just be a little bit goofy. So hope you're enjoying them. And we'll touch base here pretty soon about some of the guided reading pieces, annotating, and some of the more boring pieces, if you will, versus the book itself. So remember, you guys absolutely rule. Right, Justice?
Yep.
All right. You guys take care.